Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we have an interesting topic to touch upon. So today we're going to be touching up on a woman called Xahra Saleem. She's a 23-year-old female who was looting BLM funds a few years back. Now let me give you a quick backstory as to the events that led up to her looting such funds. So after George Floyd was killed in the States, it had a global impact whereby everyone went extra woke and they started destroying their communities. Well, that's what happened in the UK. And in the UK, not only did we have several marches, but we also had a lot of destruction in the community where people were vandalizing and just destroying and looting from shops, all in the name of justice. So these events led the UK to go extra woke. And in the process, they started doing major research on certain statues in the UK. One of the statues was Edward Colston, who was a man that was linked to the slave trade a while back. Now, where does Xahra Saleem come into this? She comes into this because she, alongside her friends, set up a fundraiser that was going to use the funds to supposedly push awareness for the Black struggle. And in the process, she was looting funds and spending funds lavishly. Now, let's see what everything has transpired to right now, and let's see what she has to pay back, and let's see what she even stole anyway. So here she is, and here's the statue. And it says here, charity con fundraiser behind BLM statue toppling used 70,000 £70,000 of donations to fund lifestyle, but is ordered to pay back just £1. In the UK, that's £1. Xahra Saleem, 23, was today ordered to pay back just £1 after taking the money from a charity for disadvantaged youngsters. And here she is right here, smiling. Wow. Just smiling like that. That's the statue I was telling you guys about of Edward Colston, I believe. And here she is on her way to court. I covered this a few months back. So this was when she went to court and she covered her identity. The article further on goes on to state, her heartless crimes led Bristol-based organization Changing Your Mindset, where Saleem was a director, closing down. She was jailed for 2.5 years for fraud in October last year after she admitted to using more than £30,000 to fund her lifestyle. This included splurging almost £6,000 on Uber rides, as well as using the money for rent, hair and beauty appointments and takeaways. A proceeds of crime hearing was told she benefited to the tune of around £70,000, but spent all the cash. Can you imagine that? This is where things get interesting now, so let's read further. As a result, Saleem was only ordered to pay a nominal sum of £1. I can't make this up. £1, which will be increased whenever she has money in the future. DC Anthony Davis, officer in this case, said Xahra Saleem admitted to defrauding a charity of a significant sum of money and received a custodial sentence for it last year. She made the conscious decision to take the money for herself when it should have gone to young people in East Bristol. Blameless individuals who support the charity were left to pick up the pieces in the aftermath of this serious fraud. So we can clearly see that this was a money-grabbing scheme, the BLM protests and all of these demonstrations, because the money should have gone to disadvantaged youths and was meant to push the BLM message to the masses. Instead, she was splurging it on restaurants, takeaways, hair and beauty, Uber, and the sum went up to £70,000. Now, because I've been covering this case for several months, I know that her colleagues were deeply embarrassed and had this to say about Xahra Saleem and her crooked ways.
I feel like we deserved to see her get some more years because she's completely crushed our dreams and our ambitions, if I'm honest. Like, the money could have been used to do so much more. She came and she offered her help to then rob us. And you could see that obviously everyone that was there, obviously all vulnerable children, we were young. So for her to do something like that, and she was not really much far away from our age herself, is disgusting in my eyes.
Now guys, just to read a little bit further into this and just see what she was spending funds on, in addition to the takeaways and hair and beauty and Uber rides that we read previously. It states, over a 15-month period, she spent the funds on her iPhone, iMac, purchases on Amazon and treatments for herself. When asked where the money was going, the crook made a string of false excuses, including blaming BLM for advising her not to hand it over. In a victim impact statement, fellow director Rebecca Scott said the charity were originally blown away by the money it received. But once it emerged the cash was gone, Miss Scott told how she and other directors were made to feel complicit in the scam. She also said the young person they had been supporting had died, adding, "What if we could have intervened?" Now, the looting was absolutely a problem, but that wasn't it. That was just the primary problem. Other problems arose from the looting, and that was loss of faith in the community. That was a young boy or female losing their lives, and they could have intervened because they were supporting them. That was the other directors and other co-founders being very embarrassed about what Xahra Saleem's actions was, and just a shame as a whole. So you vandalize the community in Bristol, you topple the statue, you make the money, and then what do you do when you make the money? You spend it all on IMAX hair and beauty just for yourself. And on top of that, you blame BLM for supposedly telling you not to hand the cash back. So what we see here is just a money grab. What we see here is just people taking advantage of a movement, and they don't live by these values. They don't care for Black life. She doesn't care for Black life. Does she care for Black life? No, absolutely not. Because from her selfish actions have arose several other problems that have affected the Black community, just from her selfish actions. This isn't someone who cares for the Black community in the slightest. This is someone who is an opportunist and will say and do anything to get herself out of problems. Even blame the same organization that she made 70K from. She'll still blame them and say it's their fault, instead of just owning up and saying, you know what, it's my fault. I took the money, I'm going to pay it back. I'm going to do what I can to reimburse, the charity and everyone around. But instead, she plays the blame game. And on top of that, she only has to pay back, I know it sounds crazy, £1. She only has to pay back £1. So when she gets more money in the future, then they may increase the amount she has to pay back, but only £1 is what she has to pay back from stealing 70K. I talk a lot about the judicial system in the UK, and here's a perfect example as to why I criticize the judicial system in the UK, because of things like that. The next person looking at this will say, hang on, Xahra Saleem done the same. In fact, she stole more than me. Let's say I stole 10, 20K. She stole 70K and she only had to pay £1 back. So why do I have to pay more than she does? It's an absolute shame, So yeah, but it's not only just Xahra Saleem, it's also Patrisse Cullors in America as well. She brought houses all over the country, even in the Caribbean, from my research. And when Candace Owens, I believe, tried to go over and interview her and speak to her about the allocation of funds gathered from BLM, she said, she took to social media and she said, "Oh, someone's at my door. They're coming for me. They can't get me. Please help me." And she played the victim. It's like, just open the door. We want to talk to you. We want to see where funds have been. And can you help us, allocate, can you help us and show us where the allocation of funds have gone if you, supposedly wasn't involved in the looting and siphoning of, BLM finances. So yeah, but she never done that. And she played the blame game, again, which just shows you that in the States, in the UK, it was really just a money grab. And it was never really about the Black youth. It was never really about the community. It was never really about empowering others. It was simply just about themselves and their own interests and just enriching themselves. It was a get-rich scheme. This situation mirrored a cryptocurrency unauthentic coin, which was a basic pump and dump scheme. They saw an opportunity, they got in, they rose the stock, people were donating, people were very emotional, at that time. And what did they do? They pulled the liquidity and they basically took the money and boom, it went down. People lost trust. And on top of everything, Patrisse Cullors and Xahra Saleem just don't come out and apologize, come out, apologize to the people, say you was wrong. But instead, they take the money and they play victim. Xahra Saleem is saying, oh, it's BLM's fault. Patrisse Cullors is saying, oh, they're coming to get me, guys, please help me. Where does this all end? I don't know. But one thing I do know is that I'll be following this case and seeing if her, repayable amounts are going to increase, as they should do, for her stealing from the community, and for being a fraud again. So yeah, it's my job to come here and enlighten the people about BLM, that it's just a money-making scheme, and they have no real care for the Black community. And, I just have to say, as it is, just have to keep it real. So yeah, but many lefties, many woke people will still say, oh no, look at what BLM did here, look at what they did there. Yeah, but look at these cases. These are cases of, huge financial amounts, being siphoned and being, taken, by individuals for gain, for private gain. So, you can't convince me otherwise. Yes, they may have done a few charitable things, but, primarily a large amount of cash has been taken out of the business for private gain. So unless you address that, then yeah, I don't want to hear it. So yeah. But anyway, guys, like, comment, and subscribe. I will be catching you at the next video. Check my last video. I believe my last video was where I was talking with GB News about knife crime in London. So please, check that out. And yeah, I'll be catching you at the next video.